What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to go over the history of my anime collection. I'm not going to go through every single item, I'm not going to go over the manga. I don't really have that much manga anyways. I do have a lot, but not as much as I do anime. So basically I'm just going over how I went from empty walls behind me into what you see today, because I'll find some people, they are aspiring to collect, or they are just starting out their collection and they want to know how a collection gets built, what to start off with, and basically going from there. And then I also find that people will come to the channel, they're brand new, and they think, wow, this guy has a big collection, I've never seen his collection before, therefore he must have bought it overnight, therefore he must be really rich, a really rich guy, when it's actually a product of a decade of collecting right here. It's been a long time in collecting, and that's really what it takes, is time to build a big collection. Anyways, my story starts off back when I used to just collect movies. I really wasn't into collecting anime because it was so damn expensive. I had like half of the movies that you see here, that like this shelf is all movies, by the way, all movies and like video games and stuff, but like half of this was filled. This was my original shelf. And back then, that was in the mid-2000s, you could go into stores and you could find anime movies, like the Razavon movie I have here, for like 20 bucks, or you could go in and buy like a single DVD of anime, which contains 4 episodes, for the same amount of money. So, of course, I couldn't afford it. I mean, even when I was working back then, I still saw it to be this exorbitant price for something because I wanted the complete series. I didn't want to spend so much money for everything. It just felt, I don't know, spending so much money on it, I don't know, I just was used to buying movies, so it just was an unjustifiable purchase for me. So everything that I started off in the 2000s was just movies. Like I bought Razavon, which was pretty cheap. I think I bought that used. You can still see the gunk on there, so that's definitely used. I also picked up Akira, which I have a few different versions of it here, but it's not the original version that I bought. I remember I started off, I was in a Barnes & Noble's, I think I paid like $30 for Akira on DVD, because their stuff was really expensive back then. I don't know about now, because I know I've gone back in there and I bought some like old classic samurai movies and like western movies and stuff, because I like to collect those too. And they were pretty good deals, so I'm guessing that the prices went down after a while, but damn. I also remember I spent $40 on 7 Samurai in Barnes & Noble's at one time, and I think their membership discount was like 10%, which was still really not that much off, but like, yeah, there were really bad prices back then, and I think today they're a little bit more manageable, but nonetheless, I started off buying anime movies, so my collection was really small for a while, and that carried over until I was one day, I was going through, I had a lot of money in my pocket here, and I just got my paycheck cashed, and I went through Best Buy and I found 2 anime, and these were technically the first 2 anime series that I ever purchased. They were Peacemaker and Mezzo, and Peacemaker was something that I'd seen on TV, and I'd really liked it because I liked the characters and the action and everything. I like samurai history and whatnot because this had the Shinsengumi, and well, I bought this because it's self-explanatory right there. And they were pretty cheap. It was like 20 bucks a pop, maybe like 25 bucks a pop. So for me, that was justifiable. Plus, I always envied seeing the, I'm keeping that in, seeing this big like chipboard box that you didn't always get with anime. I liked having that, and that was just the only way that I could afford to have it, is by getting this little thin packed DVD set. So I like collecting those for a while. So it was just a few little cheap collections like that, and then I moved on. This is when I started buying things online, because I got into this big craze of buying a bunch of DVDs and movies on these like really cheap DVD websites, and then I started going to eBay because they had this movie there that I couldn't find anywhere else, but nonetheless, I found the set of Last Exile here, and this to me was probably one of my favorite anime series at the time, because I had seen it on G4 Tech TV. It was doing this marathon thing, so this was when I started throwing prices out of the window, because this was a really like special series to me at that point. It was sentimental. I remember that I'd stood up on Christmas Day one day, like swapping out VHS cassettes, because they did the marathon all day long on it, and they just showed the entire series all day, so I had like all of the VHSs. I'd watch them because that's all I had, but I remember I got into this bidding war over this, and the price started off at like 20 bucks for this brand new set here, and I think I let the price get up to like $60, $70 for this, and it was brand new, and I just knew that I had to have it. There would be no price that was too much. I eventually won it at like 70 bucks, and then I was like, wow, yes, I finally got it. I watched it. It was like heaven for me at the time because I could go through it. It came with all of these little, there's a lot of little, postcards and things in it, artwork. There's a lot of it that's still inside of the DVD cases still, which I'm not going to pull out here, but for me at the time, collecting anime, getting all of the bonus stuff with it, and then watching it, and then going through all of that was something that was really special for me. But then I started moving over to actually collecting anime from a few different websites. So as I continued to buy more anime, I found a few websites which were dedicated to anime by itself, and this was a time when it was around 2006. There was no YouTube, there were no anime communities where I was a part of, so I didn't know anything aside from the fact that, hey, there's a website, my friend, link me, let me check that out. I found one website that had phenomenal prices. I bought a lot of anime right there, and it was all bootleg because in the mid-2000s, they didn't really crack down on bootlegs as much. Like, you could find them on eBay, you can still find them on eBay today, but even on Amazon to some extent, but it's harder to find websites which sell nothing but bootleg anime, and that's what I found. I remember that I spent like $100 on bootleg anime, and all I bought was like Rurouni Kenshin, and then I kept buying more and more and more and more because it was so cheap. These things are pretty beautiful. I spent $100 total on this back in the day, but they unfold and they have this like big giant picture here with all the DVDs. There's a picture underneath each one, and just, it came with enough for me that would like push the nostalgia of the series when I was watching it, and both sets are the exact same way. I bought so much from there. I bought Kenshin, I bought Shadow Skill, I bought a lot of anime, and this wasn't really the first time that I'd come in contact with a lot of bootleg anime either, because I remember, just to get off topic here, back to the days when I had a few anime DVDs back before I could buy it, something that I just remembered. I was at a friend's house back in high school, and there was this guy who had come over from China. We were all playing DDR, and this guy was going to drive me home, but in exchange, I bought the guy a pizza because he couldn't afford to eat. He was living by himself, and you know, things are rough for him. So I bought him a pizza, and he took me back to his place, where he gave me, like, a garbage bag full of bootleg anime. I was flipping out at this point. I don't know how I forgot about that, but like, everything that he gave me was like scratched up bootlegs. That was actually the first time that I'd watched Gundam Wing. That was actually the first time that I had ever completed an anime, in fact, because I wasn't able to complete anime on TV at the time. It was actually Shadow Skill, and everything that he had given me that I had exchanged for the pizza. I think Shadow Skill was the first ever anime series that I'd completed from beginning to end without having to watch it on TV and go through either reruns or skipping episodes or whatnot. And everything, like, certain episodes would be subtitled in Chinese, and I was like, what is going on here? I didn't know about how things could get bootlegged, and I just had so many DVDs that were just downright unwatchable. They wouldn't play on my DVD player, they were too scratched up, but I just had piles of them I didn't know what to do with. But that's neither here nor there. It wasn't really about me buying anime. It was just something that somebody had given me. I eventually, like, gave them all away. They were in bad condition, but anyways, I bought a whole bunch of bootleg from that one site. I bought, like, Samurai Champloo and a whole bunch more until I eventually went back to buy more from that website one day and realized that the website had been shut down. I forget what it was called. It was called, like, Red Sun, or it was something called Sun, and I spent a lot of money there back in the day. And then that's when I went over to find the legitimate anime websites, and then that's when I started pre-ordering the Full Metal Alchemist series, and that's when I started to actually spend more reasonable prices on anime, because pre-ordering anime is a lot more expensive than it was buying series like Mezzo and Peacemaker that were already out for several years and gone to the thin pack, so you know that they already cut the prices a lot. But when you pre-order something like this, which is still in its sets, I think they were like $30 to $40 a piece, and I pre-ordered every single one. I remember waiting until I had them all to just blow through it all, and it was a really special time for me because all of this had all of its little booklets, it had its artwork in it, it had the everything in here that really pushed the nostalgia and like the personal experience that I had with the series. And that was a huge part of collecting. Like whenever I look at my collection right here, it's not just like a wall of DVDs to me. And that's the thing with collectors that a lot of people don't really get. Like when I look at the wall, I see all of these spines, and I just am flooded with memories of series that I have seen, you know, the good, the bad, and whatnot. I'm just flooded with all the memories, so it's all the colors and the pictures and everything, and that's really what art books and whatnot help, and it really deepens your experience with the series when you have your DVD sets that come with all those special bonuses, but sadly not many of them come with those now. So around this time that I was starting to buy legal anime and pre-order my Full Metal Alchemist, I was still on this shelf right here. The entire top 3 shelves were nothing but movies, and I had finally gotten to the point where I had an entire row all the way across of nothing but anime. I thought that was really special. I was trying to fill in the second row of anime on this shelf right here, which is actually a little bit smaller. I was trying to fill that up when I first started YouTube back in 2007. I remember the setup was a lot different. I guarantee you, like, nobody is out there from the 2007 days. Maybe like 1 or 2 people, but I highly doubt that. But I had the shelf right next to my desk here, and it was like nothing but anime. I was like shoulder level is where it left off with the anime. I didn't really have that much. Probably early 2009, and by late 2009 I was already making a ton of videos, and then that's when I started getting acquainted with the anime community and learning a lot more about anime. But it took me such a long time to get into the community because I only made a few anime videos, but for the most part my channel was centered around video games, but I didn't really click with anybody in the game community because all I played was PS2 games and also like a few 360, but the majority of it was like World of Warcraft, EverQuest 2. I was really hooked into those games back then, so like the majority of my money went into savings and the rest of it went to your occasional like regular movie, or I would buy an anime from it occasionally. But whenever I started making more anime videos and I realized like more people were watching them, so I continuously made more anime videos because that's where I was getting the attention there. And then that's when I got sucked into the anime community. I started learning a lot more about anime. I started learning more about places you can buy it. I learned a lot about collecting and about how I was buying a whole bunch of bootlegs and stuff. But either way, I found a few websites and I started going crazy because up until then, the majority of my money was going into savings. Like I was buying the occasional DVD, I was buying the occasional anime, but for me, like it was just work, girlfriend, or whatever at the time, and also MMOs, World of Warcraft or EverQuest, whatever I played at the time, because I was really heavy into those. But the rest of my money would just go into savings, and whenever I was in the anime community, I was seeing all of these sales going around and everybody else. It's a really encouraging thing when you go online and you see that everybody you know is getting these giant-ass boxes and they're opening up like hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of anime, and everybody's doing it around the clock. And you're just like, oh man, this is, it's not so much inspiring. Well, it kind of is inspiring, but it really makes you want to do it because you want to feel the excitement that they're having. So whenever we would get one of these big sales on the weekend or a holiday, I would just go nuts and spend hundreds of dollars. I remember I did back when my desk was over here and I had like the desk in front of me. I remember I would have like piles of them. I would make like half the video. You couldn't even see my face because there's like piles of anime in front of me. And I would just buy so much of it. And I remember before I started buying all that, my anime collection took up the majority of the shelf here, but it quickly overflowed this. I had to take off all of my movies and old Japanese movies and video games and move them to another shelf. And eventually I needed to buy a bigger shelf is when I went here after that became nothing but anime after a while, back when I was doing those Otaku Tuesdays, and I eventually bought this right here, and now this is practically full. But I remember like once I got bitten by the bug of collecting, it was just no stopping. Like it was a physical need. So it was all fun and games. I was going wild, spending basically everything I had, everything that I didn't need for bills, for food, for just to survive for the month, gas and everything, I would put into anime. And I remember I'd go outside every single morning, pick up multiple packages, sometimes multiple times a day. It was a lot of money that I was spending on this stuff. And back then, I look back on it now and I think, wow, that was a lot of money, because a lot of people, they'll go through and they'll build their collections over a long period of time. I'm talking decades, but for me, it was just this obsession that I had. And you know, people will say that it's not about having a big collection, and I say that too, and believe me, you know, I come from a place of experience here. It's not about that, and it really isn't. But from the perspective of somebody who doesn't have that much anime, who can't really afford that much anime, you look at it, and all of your friends are online. Everybody you know is with these giant boxes, and they're all taking it out. You want more than you have, and you almost need more than you have, and it also became compulsive for me eventually, where I needed it. I needed to buy this anime, and I remember distinctly the moment that I realized that I was hitting a low, that I had some sort of spending problem with anime, that I had some sort of shopping addiction, was when I was feeling depressed. I was feeling really bad, because around this time, I was spending more than I could afford on anime, which means I was living on about a can of beefaroni and a bag of popcorn a day. Like, that is it. I shrunk down really bad. Like, there are some videos out there. I remember I was 150 pounds. I dropped down to 114 pounds. Like, it's really sick just thinking about it. I remember I did this Genshiken unboxing, and I looked disgusting. I was really thin. I was really pale, because I was putting so much money into my collection that I lived off of a can of beefaroni and like popcorn and like maybe a grilled cheese a day. That's not enough to live off of, and I was wasting away, literally. So the moment that I realized I was having a problem with this was when I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was feeling really bad, probably because I needed to eat, but I was feeling really bad, and I kind of associated that with depression, which I feel was remedied by the excitement of shopping. I go online, and I buy all of DBZ all at once, and the thing is, at that point, I wasn't really that big of a fan of DBZ. I didn't watch it on Toonami growing up, and I remember when I was watching DBZ, I remember it taking forever, having to skip episodes and whatnot, and I remember, like, just wishing that it would hurry up. But I looked at my collection, and I thought, like, I'm not a real anime collector if I don't own Dragon Ball Z. That's just the way I felt about it. So I bought all of DBZ right here, all in one go, which was like 20, 30, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180. So that was about $200 worth of DBZ. But it didn't stop there. I also bought, knocking over my line here, I bought all of the DBZ movies as well. So that was about $200, probably $250 when it came to tax and shipping and well, I think shipping was free, but it's about $250. And then I also bought a lot of other stuff at the same time, but it wasn't DBZ related. I already had Dragon Ball at the time, because I was really big into actual Dragon Ball then. Like, I still really love that, even more so than Z. But I bought a bunch of other stuff, and it came in, and I just sat there and looked at all the stuff. I was really excited for the video, if anybody was around there for that video, where I had this giant wall of DBZ sitting on the shelf, sitting on the desk in front of me for the video. It was like over my head. I wonder if I can go back and find some of the pictures. I'm not sure if I want to show everything, because just looking back at this stuff, like, I had a problem with buying, and I went for months when I would just eat next to nothing, and I would shrink down really bad. So after a few months of suffering, and I do mean suffering, because back then, man, I moved furniture around, and I went from 150 pounds to 114, and dudes shouldn't be weighing 114 pounds. I was pathetic looking. I was having to move furniture around, and, like, you could notice a difference. Like, if I were to stand up, I would get a head rush. If I were to walk around too fast, I would see dots, and sometimes I would have to move furniture, like push sofas around and stuff like that, and I would start to see dots. I would get ready to pass out just because I was so malnourished. And I would just sit in the break room and eat crackers and hope I didn't pass out and embarrass myself in front of everybody. And it's pretty ironic that when people see like a big wall of anime, they think about a lot of happiness. And for me, the anime has definitely brought me a lot of happiness, or else I wouldn't have bought it. But there is also a bit of tragedy behind it as well. I can kind of laugh at it because it's been quite a while. But we all make our mistakes, and mine were a bit costly. Nonetheless, I eventually moved on from that to only buying anime once a year. I would wait for the end of the year sales. I began eating again, and I got to the end of the year sales. I just buy a whole bunch. I'd probably spend $300, $400 because, hey, it's that one time of the year where I buy it. And then after a while, I'm talking like from right now going maybe 3 years back, I really haven't been collecting at all. I come to a point where I realize, like, I'm an older guy now. I'm a lot older than a lot of you guys think I am. And I need to be in different places in life, and I need to have savings set up to be able to do these things. I would like to take a vacation. I would like to get a new car. I would like to do so many things that, you know, would really benefit my life, but it's like all right here on my wall. And, you know, these are lessons that I learned that I kind of make this video to share with you all. Like, it's a great thing to collect anime, don't get me wrong, but you don't want to get caught up in this stream of just buying endless amounts of anime and having it to be this big old competition. There were a lot of lessons that I learned about collecting anime that I just had to learn the hard way, and I know that a lot of you guys came into this video expecting to have like this really exciting, like Bob talking about his anime collection and all of his nostalgia with anime, and got, you know, just ambushed with these sad stories. But, you know, that it is what it is. And I know I sound weird, I look weird right now. I just haven't slept all night, and I've just been up for like, I don't even know how long I've been up for right now. I've had some crazy sleeping schedule lately. I've been doing a lot of work and doing a lot of things, and not much of that is revolving around sleep. But nonetheless, many of the lessons that I learned about anime were mostly about you gotta collect at your own pace. You can't let other people online dictate what you should be doing with your money. Like, you can find people out there that have a lot of anime that haven't seen very many. And you can also find people that have seen thousands of anime and they don't own a single DVD. So what you have on your shelf does not reflect your level of entry into the fandom, and I just wanted to put it out there. It doesn't really matter if your collection is big or small, and the lessons that I took away with collecting anime is that you need to start off buying anime which is important to you. Buy important sentimental anime, and that way, like, you can get the nice collector's edition. You have more money to put on that. You can save up and get it, and when you get it, like I did with my last Exile, I spent a lot of money for it, but when you do have it, it is an item which has sentimental value to it, because you don't want to look at your shelf right now and see just a bunch of inanimate objects. You want to look at your shelf and see memories at the end of the day, because if you are not connected with your collection, if you're going to be spending big money on it, then I would say there's really no point in spending that much money and buying that many of them if you're not personally connected to it. The second message is to buy anime that you know you will like. There are a lot of anime on my shelf that I bought as a blind buy, and I just don't like them. I can't stand some of them. Granted that I didn't pay much for many of them, but some of them I did pay a lot for. Like, let me find this one right here. This is an anime that I never hear people talk about, and for that reason I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be that person that's rocking this anime. It's a samurai anime, right up my alley, nice looking art style too. Intrigue in the Bakumatsu. I have parts 1 and 2 here. Never seen part 2 because part 1 was boring as fuck. Part 2 might be pretty good, but I don't know. I'm probably never gonna get there. It's one of those mysteries that sits on my shelf and I'll probably never even get around to. So yeah, you want to buy anime that you know you like. The last lesson is something that I know is not going to apply to everybody, because not everybody is going to want to agree with this, and some people are probably going to downright disagree with it, but sometimes it's better to part with your collection, and let me explain. I bought a ton of Gundam, and if you're familiar with what happened with Gundam in the States, basically, Bandai of America, there's Bandai of Japan, and there was a branch of it, was Bandai of America, which, you know, they pulled it out eventually, and before they pulled out of America, they had a lot of their titles which were really expensive, because Bandai thought that it was a privilege that you could watch anime, and they, you know, I really don't want to get into Bandai, but they would charge you a lot. Like, this is Zeta Gundam, a 50-episode anime series, just because it's the first one I grabbed off the shelf. I'm thinking that this was around, I want to say $60 to $70 for the both of them. It's 50 episodes. It might have been a bit more than that. But eventually, and you could look at all of the other Gundam series, and depending on their popularity, their prices are going to raise or fall $5 to $10, and you might be able to find sales. So I was one of these guys, because I was really into the Gundam fandom back then, and I was buying up all of the Gundam, a lot of stuff that I hadn't even seen. I was just trying to buy everything because I like Gundam. I was really big into Gundam model kits, which was another huge collection issue. I think I got one over there. It's a giant one. I'll be right back. This dusty giant Gundam figure right here, it took me 3 days to build, and it was like $200 some. I think I spent an entire tax return on this, and I bought some other smaller little Gundams, but yeah, $200. And this was a thing right here that I knew that my collecting was pretty bad, because this was also around the time that I was doing the whole beefaroni diet, and I remember that I knew that it wouldn't be a solid investment to buy this, because honestly it does just sit on my shelf. I didn't paint it or anything, and I bought it mostly because the curiosity to have it was overwhelming, because I wanted to build a giant-ass kit like this. It had so many pieces that it overlapped the queen-size bed, and I just couldn't sleep for 3 days because I didn't have a place to do it, because I had to build this, and I have a place. All this Gundam right here, that is a lot of Gundam. Now, to you, that may look like hundreds of dollars of anime, but when these went out of print, they were selling for, like, I calculated the value of the group of all of the Gundam that I had and going by what they were going for used on Amazon. This was about $3,000 to $4,000 worth of DVDs. Now, the collector value of these is something that is out of print. So as a collector, you may want to hold on to these DVDs here, but it came to a point, I remember I was driving to work. Even back then, my car was just clunking along. It's to the point now where I need to buy a new car. I just can't afford it. I'm just bumming rides wherever. But whenever that finally happened, I need to buy a new car. I couldn't set aside the money to do that. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to sell my Gundam collection. And I look up online, and these are no longer available on Amazon. I look up on eBay, and they're selling for $20 to $30 on eBay. And I wonder why. I look up, and these shows have been relicensed, and many of these they're coming out on Blu-ray. So this thousands of dollars of anime that I had right here, thousands I could have had. And I sat on it, and it became obsolete. You know, they're DVDs at the end of the day. There's no special, there's no booklets or anything. Granted, the disc art is really nice, but I sat on a nest egg, which I could have cashed in, and I didn't, just because of the collector's value. And many of these shows, like, I probably will never watch them again. How many other times am I going to watch the original Gundam series? I've seen it like 3 times. I'd probably watch it one more to do a review or something. But that's just it. Sometimes you gotta sell part of your collection, and I don't think anybody here would disagree with me on the fact that I think I missed a great opportunity. I've sold other anime in the past, like I bought an anime series, Anohana, for $60, and I had it sitting on my shelf, and just as a joke one day, I stuck on an Amazon for like $300, maybe a bit more than that, and yeah, it's sold. So, sometimes you can buy an anime really cheap, and, you can create something which is worth something, but, it's not the case for everybody. This was a specific instance right here, because they were, coming out on Blu-ray, and I really needed it, but, I really squandered that. So, anyways, let me know your story about collecting anime, or collecting anything in general. Let me know about that in the comment section below, because I gotta cut this short, because my camera is dying, and let me know all about that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.